Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mission Employable podcast. My name is Ben Oldak. I'm your host. Sitting next to me, Kathy Leggett, your co-host. Kathy, how's it going?
It's going great. Another beautiful day in Iowa. And I must say that Ben is very snappily dressed today. So I just want to share that. I know you can't. Well, if you see the video, you can see
the video, yeah.
But yeah, just very nice. So.
Thanks, I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
I'm in like my 70s rayon shirt era at the moment.
Maybe that's why I like it.
Yeah, right.
Way back
exactly.
in the 70s takes me back. So.
Well, we got a great episode for you today. Edgar Ramirez is here. He is going to be talking about all kinds of things related to immigration and refugee employment and how important that is for our state. And if you're an employee, what you can be doing to search in that job pool and bring some of those folks in. So Edgar, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And yes, I agree. It's a beautiful day today.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and when did you start a little bit about your IWD experience?
Absolutely. So officially, I started working for IWD back in 2018, May 2018. So officially, it will be 7 years, 8 years ago today. No,
7
years.
Seven
years
it was
ago.
just a little bit after me. So.
7 years ago this month. Although it feels longer than that. See, I was in the service, and when I returned from Afghanistan, it took me a while to reconnect.
Sure.
And people, neighbors, community. Led me to go to the Iowa Workforce office at the time, the AJC in Carroll, Iowa, and that's where it all started. They connected me to IVRS, connected me to unemployment, connected me to many things, and here I am sitting today. Right. So it's been a part of me all along. So definitely.
It's wonderful, wonderful.
And what'd you do in the military?
I was a combat medic for the Army National Guard, so very exciting part of my life as well. So other than that, I have worked with little children at Head Start. I have worked with people with disabilities. I have worked with adults. I mean, it's just very many different aspects of my professional career, I guess, if you will. And more recently, what brings us here today is with immigrant refugee population. Yes.
So it sounds like helping people is just like in your nature. I mean,
it has been.
Yes.
It has been. It has been for a long time. Not necessarily intentionally, but it just kind of became the nature of my being.
Yeah.
So where did the passion come from for working with immigrants and refugees?
A good question. So being an immigrant myself, I have been in Iowa. I consider myself an Iowan.
Yeah.
I've been in Iowa for the last 25 years. February was my 25th year in Iowa. In the United States, I will be 30 years next year. So, becoming a U.S. citizen was very exciting. And it's everything, right? It's everything you hear. As an immigrant, you come to the United States of America, is the land, right? The promised land, the dreams, everything. And seeing that, but then being in Iowa and becoming an Iowa and learning about everything Iowa has, like Iowa's number one in this, Iowa's number one in corn and everything. The opportunities beyond that. And then being able to help people. In this case, I started as an interpreter and helping people through that, right? I had taken them to out of zone, helping them get a battery, right? Interpreting at the healthcare, interpreting, and then just seeing the opportunities became very interesting. Very, it kind of formed my passion, helping people, and then seeing them become their own story, if you will. Yes.
Well, Iowa Workforce Development is definitely a perfect place for you. I know I heard you speak, I think it was around Christmas this last year, and then I was like, we have to get you on the podcast. I'm so happy that you're here. One question that I have is we often use immigrant and refugee interchangeably, and I wonder if you could just talk a little bit more about there, because there are differences.
Yes, there is a difference. So refugee, this is a status, and that is a status. Anybody that comes to the U.S. as a refugee is because the status has started, or the process, if you will, started from the country of origin.
Okay.
So say that I'm a citizen from South Sudan, currently in turmoil, right? And my family and I happen to have the opportunity to flee. We flee Sudan, and we are in let's say in Congo, for example, or another country, if you will, we're going to spend some time in that city. Perhaps it could be even Germany, right? Which is going to be a refugee camp. It could take 7 years. It could take 12 years. It could take 20.
Wow.
It can take years.
Yeah.
And what happens between that time is, in this case, my destination, the U.S. The government is learning everything and anything they need to know about me, right? My background, my criminal background, my family, my children, my extended family. So by the time I make the trip, when I started the process, I requested, I started to do the application to be accepted as a refugee. When I make the trip over and I land in the U.S., everything is here for me. I'm going to have the documentation is ready. Where as an immigrant, somebody coming, could be through a boat from Europe, could be through the south border. That is somebody that is not necessarily fleeing home because they are in turmoil because of war. Perhaps you're just looking for a different opportunity, right? A necessity. But different to a refugee, an immigrant is going to come and is going to have to start the process, meaning the U.S. government does not know anything perhaps about me. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
And so when someone comes to America for the first time, if they're an immigrant and they have to start that process, like what does that process look like? I mean, and then some of the challenges to even, getting employment for the first time.
Some of the challenges. So it's a good question. Thank you. So for a refugee, again, a refugee is fleeing home, right? My home is at war. And you can name it, right? If we put a map right now, we can name all the countries that are currently in the news.
Right.
And so I'm living that, and I come to the U.S. and you may say I'm in relief now. I have a feeling of relief, but I'm blindfolded. Because now I'm in a country where I don't know anything. I don't know the language. Many people that I come to meet always tell me where I'm from. There's many people walking all the time. Here, many cars all the time, and one person per car. So it's a difference, right? So they're going to encounter a language barrier. They're going to encounter the assimilation to the new community, to just the new surrounding, the buildings, the traffic, the lights, you name it, right?
Sure.
Assimilation, and with that is also going to be the difficulty of navigating how to get a job, right? Where back home, I was a farmer, and here I can't really be a farmer, right? Perhaps so that. For somebody that comes as a refugee, they will have their employment authorization, they will have everything they need, and so they will just need somebody's help to attain that employment, etc. For an immigrant, depending on the process, depending on how they arrive into the U.S., they might have to go through that immigration process. For example, for an asylee, right? If you come from a country from Haiti, for example, that you are perhaps going to be receiving asylum or given asylum, you are in the United States, right? Comparing to a refugee it was another country. So you have to start that process here. It's going to take some time to get employment authorization, to get a social security number. So that is going to be the difference where somebody comes.
Yes.
And it's just the process time.
Very interesting.
So what kind of assistance is there available for immigrants or refugees who are kind of like in that limbo? They might have applied for their social security card, but they haven't got it yet, or they're working through the paperwork, but they still need to work to make money.
Sure. So for those individuals that come to the U.S. as refugees, right, everything is, for a lack of a better word, almost automatic, right? They're going to come and everything is waiting for them, right? So it's just a matter of time for them to wait for it, and then there is a path for the residency card or the green card, usually known as the green card, and so then what's available for them usually. Here in Iowa, we have resettlement agencies who are helping us welcoming our new neighbors, and they will be there to assist them in getting their housing, getting employment, getting acquainted to their new world, if you will. But what if I'm somebody that came through the south border, right? And I was given asylum. Well, I don't have that safety net of a resettlement agency, right? I just happen to have my relative or somebody that was able to open their doors to me here. So then I'm starting navigating that. So there's many community organizations, if you will. There's many religious organizations too that are out there advocating for them, that they may have the solutions, they might have the tools, they might have some signs to tell you where to go and what to do, right? At IowaWORKS, for example, right, when somebody comes and say, I'm looking for employment, they have the language line. Okay, so I'm going to be able to communicate with you. What type of work are you doing? What is your experience, et cetera? Walk you through that, and then be able to connect you to employment. So there are tools available, but I have to say that is not necessarily a perhaps a perfect system. Everybody's learning. There's so many languages, so many new neighbors that we're welcoming to Iowa. So everybody that comes in, we try to do our best to help them. And for that one person that we help, say that we help somebody from the Eritrea, for that one person that we help is also having access to the Eritrean community. So
yeah.
So tell us a little bit more specifically what your role is.
My role as the Refugee Workforce Liaison, what I try to do in essence, in a nutshell, is I try to view prosperity between employers and the immigrant and refugee populations. What that looks like is basically creating the opportunities for employers to learn how to connect to the immigrant and refugee populations, and also opening the door to immigrant and refugee populations to opportunities beyond entry-level positions, right? Beyond perhaps the packing houses, beyond just sometimes maybe I know how to make goat cheese, right? And that's all I know how to do. Coming to Iowa, there's not a whole lot of goat cheese making. Sometimes, even if you say the word goat cheese, some people go, ugh, So perhaps there's not a whole lot of that going on. But I have a skill that can be transferred onto, maybe I can be in the food making, and maybe I have customer service, I have food safety skills. So there's many transferable skills. So that's basically what we try to do. Is usually what we refer to is create ports of entry to then turn them into landing zones.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Now, this is kind of perfect because we're kind of crossing the bridge now between the immigrants themselves or refugees and employers.
Sure.
So I kind of want to talk about the employer side.
Sure.
I know you talk about some of the myths when it comes to hiring refugees or immigrants for employers.
Sure.
Run through those for us.
So one myth that is a constant, right? And this is perhaps because the only information that we receive is through the media, right? Whether it's the TV, whether it's TikTok, whether it's whatever media people may choose, right? For a long time, the only word the word that we have had was immigrant. But then with the fall of Kabul, and then shortly after the war in Ukraine, the word refugee became known, right? And so then with that, the knowledge or the understanding is like everybody that comes through the south border will get asylum. And it's not necessarily true. Not everybody gets asylum, for one. The other one, too, is the other thing, contrary to what TV may say, is that immigrant refugees coming to the U.S. are terrorists or criminals or something. It is not. There is a process that the U.S. government takes to know that everybody coming there's due diligence, there's studies, there is a process. Like I said, it takes more than 7 years for a refugee to come, and if you're coming to the south border, then you're asking for asylum. There is also time, right, that it takes for you to acquire that. So there is that. Another myth is perhaps that the immigrants and refugees coming to the U.S. are displacing U.S. workers from jobs. Not necessarily true. There are, you can Google it, you can go in the internet, look for it. Individuals that we're welcoming to Iowa, our new neighbors, are taking those jobs that are available and that have been available often are going to be those entry-level positions because of the skills, because of the language skills that they lack perhaps or that they currently have. And what's good about it is that there is opportunities to upskill the individuals from there. So,
yeah, great points to make, and something that I mean, there's all kinds of research about it recently, was just that how important the immigrant population was getting this country through COVID.
Oh.
Like the economy would not have made it without that labor, and I think we all should be thankful for that.
Sure, and it's something that again you don't hear on TV, you don't hear it publicly. It's not publicized, right? It's not publicly talked a lot. Like so, for example, just recently the U.S. News. It was released. The U.S. News recognized Iowa as number 6 state, best general state. Another report not too long ago recognized Iowa as the 5th state where people move for jobs, right? Leaving California in number 9, right? Years ago, California was ahead.
Right.
Iowa was nowhere, right? People, I mean, I not too long ago, I traveled to Washington and they asked me, where are you from? From Iowa. Well, where is that, right? Sometimes they confuse us with Idaho or depends, right?
I've gotten that one before.
But Iowa is number 1 in pork production, corn production, egg production, bean production, right? And so then if we take a little moment, it's like who works at the packing plants, right? Who's working at the egg production plants? We have more than 7,000 H2A workers that come to work for the corn production and the bean production. So these are all the immigrant workforce that we have that help us be number 1, help our economy to sustain Iowa, and then if we expand it, the nation, really, right?
So for employers, and I know you've had some experience, connecting, as you said, can you give us a couple of examples of successes of how this has worked for employers and for the immigrant or refugee population?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step, regardless of what you do in life, the first step is always the hardest, right? So every time we have met with employers and we're trying to, because they have had the curiosity. Well, I have many positions open, but nobody's coming. Or sometimes it's like I have hired people, but it's a revolving door. They leave, they don't stay, right? How do I connect, right? Or sometimes they hear that other employer had success with this, they want to try it, etc. So the commonality between the recent employers that we have assisted is that they have started with a small group of individuals. Some of them have started with 1. There was one employer over in the east side of Iowa. I almost say the East Coast one, the east side of Iowa. Well, we have 2 rivers, the East Coast. They started with 7 individuals. That specific employer now has over 35 refugees. Here in this area, we have had people that employers that started with 1. Now they have 3. So it depends how comfortable you are. And it also depends on how big your organization is, how much work, how much demand you have. But what the feedback that we have received from employers is that the loyalty from people. Some employers is like, they're not gonna stay. These are immigrants, right? They're probably gonna be here and they're gonna leave as soon as they find something else, or they follow their friends. The loyalty is the number 1 they talk about, right? The length of retention. They don't have to look forward. Their current culture talks about how they were tired of, hey, we have a new coworker, we have to train, and then 2 weeks later they left us. We have to work overtime, which is overtime is good. It's good in your pocket. It's good, if you're planning vacation or buying a new car. But sometimes people get tired of working overtime all the time. I want to be home, right? People appreciate being home nowadays more so than ever. And so then having our new neighbors coming into the workplace and having them stay there, it's going to take a little bit of training. It's going to have to take a little longer. But then seeing them how they stay longer, they're loyal, they are punctual. They are willing to learn. And one thing I want to talk about here is, and perhaps is something that I can relate myself, is most of our new neighbors, immigrants or refugees, it's not that they need to work only. We all need to work. We need to pay bills. We need to eat. We need to go to Walmart. We need to, but they want to work. There is a wanting to work. And the reason why I say they want to work is because they are seeking that sense of belonging, if you will, right? So I'm here in the U.S., right? I am part of the Eritrean community, the Congolese community, etc., whichever community, whichever language, culture you may be, but I want to belong. So putting on that shirt with the logo of my employer, that gives me a sense of belonging, right? I am Walmart, I am Tyson, I am, etc., whichever employer may be. I am mom and pop's shop in the corner. It is recognized by the community, right? So when I step in the community without a logo, without any recognition, I am me and everything, but I'm not as strong as I will want to be, perhaps. But when I have an employer in my corner and that community sees that, whoa, that makes a difference, right? So very similar, I can tell you that what I was, again, here humbly, I can tell you I was in Carroll, Iowa. That's where I spent 24 years of my 25 in Iowa, going to 2 years here in Des Moines. One day, maybe perhaps a little bit of on the extreme side, but I said, well, if I die and I get buried in Carroll Cemetery, I'm going to be the first Hispanic buried in Carroll, Iowa, which I will break a record, right? That will be a record, right? So there's applause to that. And I thought, my daughters will come, they visit me, and they will see me, but I expect them to continue in the life, and eventually it will just be me there, with flowers, perhaps, right? And then the idea and the passion, in fact, to join the service came. And so then that changed my perspective, because now I said, if I get buried on a veteran cemetery, I'm buried next to people that have the same uniform, right? That share the same. So that gave me the belonging, perhaps. So that's where I bring that to the table, where
great perspective to share.
They want to belong, right? And they want to work. They want to say, hey, I am here, see me, embrace me, I'm an ally to you, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you have some of these people that have taken so long and so much work to get here.
Yes.
Right? That when they get here, they want to be active in the American dream.
They want to be active. They want to be, and not only for themselves, not only because of the hardships that they have had, not only because they also have family back home and they want to continue on that story, but also because now they have children, and they have that pressure of showing their children, hey, this is how we're going to go, right? You want to educate, you want to pass the baton to your children. So yes, there is that too.
Yeah. So if you're a business and you want to, you say you have several open positions and you think maybe, hey, I should tap into this population, how can they use IowaWorks and IWD to get that done?
It's nothing. Again, we always talk about the first step is the hardest. This is not. This is not. It's it's simple, and you won't regret it. Contact IowaWorks. They have a magnificent business engagement team. Contact them. They will walk you through. Okay, they will learn about your needs. They will learn about your profile. This is what I produce. This is the safety concerns that I have. This is the process that I'm looking for. This is why is it that I have to have somebody with some English, or this is why I can afford to have somebody that doesn't speak English, right? But having the business engagement team learn about you will give them an idea of who you're looking for. And then they can make the connection. They might contact me, and I can help then make the connection to the immigrant refugee communities. And in turn, we can connect then, knowing what profile you're looking for. Then we can look for the individuals that fit your profile, and then connect the right candidates to you. And then, of course, interviews will come and everything. So
yes,
just reach out. You can also reach out to community organizations, the Bureau of Refugee Services, but definitely at IowaWorks, there's those tools that are holistic for businesses.
Yes, no, that is great, and I think the way you said it is great. And what's the downside? You have open positions, you're looking for good employees,
right.
Take that step.
Yes,
and I think you gave great examples. You know what? We want to know what you need as an employer, then we will help make that, that fit. It's so get the conversation started.
Yeah, that's right. Make the connection, right?
Yes.
My connection. So we have, I believe, I love Iowa. I am an Iowan. I don't think I could be this passionate on another state. I have travels to other state, but I'm genuinely telling you that when I see good news about Iowa being recognized in this, it really, I don't know, pumps me up. Really, I really like it. So when it comes to this, I can tell you with so much confidence that we are set in a position where many immigrant populations are moving from Florida, from Indiana, from Illinois, from New York to Iowa, what we refer to as secondary migration. So yes, we have resettlement agencies that are helping refugees come to Iowa through the refugee pipeline. We have immigrants that are coming to Iowa because they might have families, they might have some connections. Now we have that program, that sponsorship program, where groups are sponsoring refugees, asylees as well. But we also have people that are currently in other states that are saying, Iowa seems to be a better opportunity, and they're learning that because through the network. You might have heard about WhatsApp, the app, perhaps.
Yeah.
Communication is key in WhatsApp, especially with the immigrant refugee population. So I'll give you an example. About 2 years ago, when the fall of Kabul and everything, we had 3 gentlemen that were living in Arizona. Right, and they talked to their, I believe it was a cousin, a family member here in Iowa, and they were comparing. It's like, well, how much you pay in rent? Well, this much. Well, how much is your rent in Arizona? Well, my rent in Arizona is this much. What about work? Oh yeah, I started working here, and this is how much earning, and and they love me and everything here. Blah blah blah. What about in Arizona? I haven't found work. Without any hesitation, using their Google Maps, they grabbed their car. They knew how to drive.
Wow.
They had a driver's license.
Yes.
And the Google Maps, no English, no nothing. The first trip in the United States, they drove from Arizona to Iowa.
Wow.
Just because to them it's like, that's where opportunity is.
Yes.
And I think very recently, Iowa and opportunity kind of go hand in hand.
Yes.
And that's what it is. So we are placed in perhaps unintentionally, but we are placed where we have secondary migrants coming to Iowa seeking employment, housing,
right,
welcoming, right, and people telling them, yes, welcome, here we are. And another thing, just to add to this, that employers often talk that the benefit of hiring is food. Sometimes when they have food days and the food it suddenly becomes.
I bet.
Yeah.
Oh man, no kidding.
Imagine, right? Aside from the diversity, right, et cetera.
Yeah.
But
yes,
I mean,
yes.
the food, the culture,
The
all
culture,
the kind of stuff that they bring with them. It's really important. And I just wanted to tell folks who might be employers or in HR, if you want to go to our website and get in contact with the business engagement team, you can go to workforce.iowa.gov/employers, workforce.iowa.gov/employers, and there is all your resources that you need there, along with a phone number and an email address to get in contact. One last thing, and I kind of want to end on this because I think this really wraps up what we were all talking about today, is that I hear you use the word neighbors a lot. You are new neighbors.
Yes.
Why do you use that word, and why is that important?
To give them I just slip out of my, but a refugee is a status, the same thing as an immigrant, right? And I could tell you, I'm an immigrant, and I could tell you that I might be comfortable being called an immigrant for the rest of my life, perhaps, but that's not who I am, right? I am Edgar Ramirez, and I'm U.S. citizen. I was in the service and everything, so I refer to them as our new neighbors because that's who they are. They're part of our community. They're community members, and they are going to and they want to help our community become a better community, just like we are. So the reason why I do that, yes.
Yeah,
that's great.
And I think that's the mindset that we should have, and that these folks are coming in as our neighbors, and that we should be welcoming them into the community and doing what we would do for our our next door neighbors.
Absolutely.
Well, Edgar, thank you so much for stopping by the
Thank you.
podcast. We love to
Absolutely.
talk to you.
Thank you
So
for having
great
me.
to
I'm
have
glad
you.
to be here. Looking forward.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edgar.
Thank you.